Good morning, Sasha. Today I'm going to tell you just a little bit about a quiet time that I had today in 2 Samuel 4. Just continuing David's leadership. I know yesterday I talked about toxic leadership. I think David, I would call just unique leadership and really probably just unique reliance on God. In this one, what's happening is, Saul's dead, Jonathan's dead, but one of Saul's sons, Ishboeth or something like that, he's king of Israel, and two of his army captains come in and they murder him. They chop his head off, and they go down to David and they bring his head. And David kind of looks at him and says, the guy that brought me the news of Saul's death thought he was bringing me something good and that he would be rewarded. And he was rewarded by death. Now, side note, he was actually kind of partially responsible for Saul's death because he was an Amalekite and he admitted that Saul was still alive and Saul had asked him to kill him, so he did. So that person wasn't totally innocent, but these two people were actually just murderers. I mean, they just straight up murdered Saul's son, and what I think is, and so David had them executed, and then had a proper burial for Ishboeth, and I think that one of the things that you see here is just a complete um, difference between David and really how sort of succession and kingships had been done at that time. Like really the way it worked in those times was like if you were going to establish yourself as king, the first thing you had to do was kill the current king. The second thing you had to do was you wiped out his entire family to make sure that there were no other claims to the throne, that there weren't people still loyal to that original king who might support a son or whoever. And David was not at all about that. He was totally committed to, God has promised that he's going to do this. I'm going to let God do it. And I'm not going to do it under my own might. I'm not going to do it by the way the world does it, which is executing an entire family. In fact, in the next chapter or two, we're going to see that David actually goes out of his way to provide a place for like the one remaining member of Saul's household, which is one of Jonathan's sons, one who's like crippled. He's introduced in this chapter, but we'll find out, I think, in the next chapter that David actually brings him to kind of his table and has a special place for him all of his life. And so just the faith that David had, that God had given him a vision for what he was to do, which is to be the king of all Israel, all of God's people. And he was committed to letting God carry that out in God's timing. I know that this is something that I struggle with sometimes is, I think, oh, this is maybe what God's doing here, or maybe this is what God's doing over here. But it's hard sometimes to just wait. And I think David shows incredible patience and really does set himself up as different from all other leaders at this time, where he is not out for revenge, even though he, in a worldly sense, I would think he kind of has the right to, because Saul was chasing him and trying to kill him. But he is committed to following God, to letting God bring about the change that's going to happen in his timing, in just how different this is than any other kind of kingship, which is where, again, you murder, the current king and then wipe out his entire family so you don't have to worry about it. So anyway, hope that's a little more encouraging than the message yesterday about the toxic leadership. All right, have a great day. Love you. Bye.